Hello friends, myself Professor D.B. Madhyali. I'm working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering in Hiraj Sugar Institute of Technology in Itsosi. So in this video I'm going to explain or discuss about the one experiment of analog circuits lab. So that is the design of Colpitts oscillator. So in this case the oscillator is a circuit. It is used to generate the frequency of oscillations at a desired frequency. So without applying any input source signals, and in this case, from this experiment, our aim is to get the practical frequency of the oscillation, and that practical frequency of the oscillation is nearly equal to the theoretical frequency of this Colpitts oscillator. So oscillator is a circuit and it produces some periodic waveforms or the frequency of the oscillations on its output stage without applying any input signal and with applying only the DC supply voltage as an input signal. It means without applying any input source signal to the oscillator. So with the help of supply voltage, DC supply voltage, we can generate the frequency of oscillations, and that DC supply voltage is used as an input for the oscillator circuit. And in the oscillator part, we should follow these two statements, that is the Parkinson criteria statements. The first statement is the total phase shift around the loop in the entire Colpitts oscillator circuit is either 0 degree or 360 degree. Okay, so whatever the total phase shift it provides the oscillator, so that is completely one loop, and that loop is 0 degree or 360 degree. And second statement is A beta is equal to 1. A is it is a gain of voltage amplifier, and beta is the feedback factor. So when the product of A beta is equal to 1, so then only we can get a proper frequency of oscillations at the output stage of oscillator circuit. So when we follow these two statements, then only we can get a proper frequency of the oscillations. So this is the basic circuit of the Colpitts oscillator, and in this oscillator part we have two different part of circuits. So this part of circuit is called as a common emitter voltage amplifier. So this part of circuit is called as a common emitter voltage amplifier. Another part is very important. This part of circuit is called as a LC tank circuit, and this LC tank circuit is used as a feedback circuit. And according to the Parkinson criteria, so the first part of the circuit, that is a common emitter voltage amplifier, provides the 180 degree phase shift, and this LC tank provides the 180 degree phase shift. Totally 180 plus 180 is equal to 360 degree. So this circuit provides a phase shift around one complete loop. One complete loop is equal to 360 degree. Okay, and another thing is, another statement of the Parkinson criteria is A beta is equal to 1. So when you maintain the equation A beta is equal to 1, then only we can get a proper frequency of the oscillation. But what happens? The output of this tank circuit means at this stage we are getting a damped type of signals at the output of the LC tank circuits. So the damped signal means either A beta is greater than 1 or less than 1. So that signal is not a proper signal. So that to get a proper or sustained or undamped frequency of oscillations, so we need to use the amplifier circuit. With the help of amplifier circuit, at the output stage we are getting a sustained oscillations or sustained signals. Sustained oscillation means in both positive and negative half cycle of output signal, the both amplitude levels are same or equal. Then the output of the LC tank circuit is damped signal. The damped signal means what? For one particular cycle, the amplitude of both positive and negative half cycle is same. For another second cycle of damped signal is the amplitude of both positive and negative signal is decreases. It means in the damped signal, as the cycle will increases, the amplitude level of the signal is automatically decreases to 0 level. Okay. So by converting damped signal to sustained signal, we need to use the common emitter voltage amplifier circuit. So this is a procedure how it generates the frequency of oscillation by using circuit 1 and circuit 2. So now we'll discuss about the operation of the Colpitts oscillator circuit. So basically I told that without applying any input source signal to the base of the transistor, so it generates the frequency of the oscillation. Okay. So initially this circuit is inactive state. So when we are applying the plus VCC signal as a positive supply voltage, so at that time the signal comes at the base terminal of the common emitter transistor, and that signal may be in the form of distortion signal. So with the help of this common emitter transistor, so we are amplifying this distortion signal and we'll get one signal at the output stage, and that output signal, that amplified output signal, is used as a input signal for the LC tank circuit. Input signal for the LC tank circuit. So as we know that the amplified output signal is used as the input for the LC tank circuit. So at that time the both capacitors C1, C2 becomes charging condition. At that time inductance is discharging condition, because the C1, C2 stores the electrical signal, then the inductance stores the magnetic field. So when this capacitor C1, C2 are charging condition, so at that time the current is flowing towards the inductance. So when the current flows towards the inductance, at that time the inductance becomes charging condition. At that time the both C1, C2 becomes discharging condition. So when the inductance becomes charging condition, so at that time according to the Lenz's law, the inductance, that means L, generates the back EMF. So At that time, the inductance become charging condition. During charging condition, so it generates the back EMF according to the Lenz's law. And after that, again the current is flowing towards the C1, C2. So when it generates the back EMF, so with the help of back EMF, again the C1, C2 becomes charging condition, and again this L becomes discharging condition. So this is the continuous process of charging and discharging between C1, C2 and L. Okay, and whatever the charging of C1, C2 and discharging of L, and charging of L and discharging of C1, C2. So this process will creates the frequency of the oscillation at the output side of the LC tank circuits. So this is the procedure how the LC tank generates the frequency of the oscillations. But that frequency of the oscillation is damped type of signals. It is not a sustained, it is not a constant type of signal. So that signal is applied to the base of the transistor. With the help of this transistor, again we are amplifying that damped signal, and finally we get the output with a sustained signals with a good quality of the frequency of oscillations. So this is the procedure or operation how this oscillator will generate the frequency of oscillations. And regarding this common emitter voltage amplifier, already we discussed this operation in the experiment of common emitter voltage amplifier. Okay, so in this case this part of circuit is totally act as an amplifier circuit. Okay, so in this amplifier circuit, emitter base is a forward biased, collector base is reverse biased, because our aim is to use the transistor as an amplifier in the active region. And this part of circuit is used as a voltage divider biasing circuit. So with the help of this circuit we can maintain stable or constant operating point of the transistor in the active region. Then only we can use this transistor as an amplifier. Next, the coupling capacitor, input coupling capacitor and output coupling capacitor. These two capacitors are used to block unwanted DC signal, and it allows only AC input signal to the base of the NPN transistor. And one more capacitor is emitter bypass capacitor. So whatever the unwanted AC signal is coming at the emitter terminal, so with the help of this emitter bypass capacitor we can send these unwanted AC signal towards the ground point, ground terminal. Okay, so this is about the operation of the Colpitts oscillator circuit. So next we'll discuss about the design steps. So consider we are using a SL100 transistor and VCC is 12 volt, IC is 2 milliampere, and VRC, voltage across resistor, collector resistor RC is 40% of VCC. So this is according to the specifications of the transistor. We should follow 40% of VCC is VRC, 10% of VCC is VRE, 80% of VCE is 80% of VCC is VCE. So we are getting VRC is 4.8, VR is 1.2 and VCE is 6 volt when we consider VCC is equal to 12 volt. So next our aim is to calculate Register R1, R2, RC, RE, coupling capacitors C1, C2 and L. Okay. So here the VRC is equal to ICRC. We know that VRC is equal to ICRC, and from this equation RC is equal to VRC by IC. So VRC is 4.8 volt, IC is 2 milliampere. So we are getting 2.4 kilo ohm standard resistor value. Next we know that VRE is equal to IERE. So RE is equal to VRE by IE, and this equation is equal to VRE by IC because IE is nearly equal to IC, because we know that the transistor current equation IE is equal to IB plus IC. When IB is neglected, because a very small value of IB, because IB is measured in terms of microampere, so when IB is neglected, at that time IE is equal to IC. So we get the RE value is 680 ohm standard value. Then consider the beta current gain factor. This beta is equal to output current IC divided by input current IB. So from this equation IB is equal to IC divided by beta. So now we are getting IB is equal to 20 microampere. Next our aim is to calculate the resistor R1 and R2. So we need to follow these two equations in the voltage divider biasing method to get a stable voltage, to get a stable output voltage. So we need to follow R1 is equal to 10 times of IB, R2 is equal to 9 times of IB, because IB is a very small amount of current and it is measured in terms of microampere. So that VR2 voltage across R2 is equal to VBE plus VRE. VBE is the cut-in voltage of the silicon transistor, cut-in voltage of the silicon emitter base junction. VR is a known value, so VR2 is equal to 1.9 volt. Next R2 is equal to VR2 divided by 9 IB. R2 is equal to VR2 divided by 9 IB. So here VR2 is 1.9 divided by 9 into IB. IB is the 20 microampere. From this equation we are getting 10.55 kilo ohm is equal to 10 kilo ohm of standard value. Next VR1. VR1, that is a voltage across R1. So this equation is given represented by VCC minus VR2. VCC is 12, VR2 is 1.9, so we are getting 10.7 volt. Then the R1 equation, R1 is equal to VR1 divided by 10 IB. VR1 is 10.7, 10 into IB is 20 microampere, so we are getting standard value is 47 kilo ohm. So in the previous slide we calculated R1, R2, RC and RE. So in this slide our aim is to calculate or design the value of capacitors, coupling capacitors, emitter bypass capacitors, and L1, L2, sorry, C1, C2 and L, because whatever the tank circuit is there, in tank circuit we are using C1, C2 and L. Based on the value of L, C1, C2 in the tank circuit, it generates the frequency of the oscillations. It generates the oscillations at the output side of LC tank circuit. So according to the thumb rule, X of C is equal to RE by 10. So RE, put the RE value divided by 10, we are getting 60. So C is equal to 10 divided by 2 pi FL X of CE. Okay. So here we are considering FL is equal to 100 Hertz. So after calculating we are getting 22 microfarad for the standard value. and consider the CC1, CC2 means coupling capacitors at input and coupling capacitor at the output. Consider as a C value, that is 22 microfarad. And next our aim is to, whatever the Colpitts oscillator generates the frequency of oscillation, so that is we consider the 100 kilohertz. This is our requirement. Okay, means this is a theoretical frequency of the oscillations. So we know the frequency equation of the Colpitts oscillator, 1 upon 2 pi root of L into C equivalent. So the C equivalent equation is C1 C2 by C1 plus C2, and here consider the L is equal to 5 millihenry and frequency is 100 kilohertz, and after calculation we are getting 500 picofarad and for both C1 and C2. So we are getting this type of output waveform at the output stage of circuit, or in the CRO we are getting this type of output signal. It is a sustained frequency of oscillations. Sustained means what? In during one particular cycle, the amplitude level of positive and amplitude level of negative both should be equal or same. And in this experiment, our aim is to, whatever we are getting the signal on the CRO, first we are calculating the total time period for one cycle during both positive and negative. Then you will get time period. Then with the help of this time period, we will calculate the frequency, because frequency is equal to 1 upon T. Then you will get the frequency of the oscillations. So this is calculations. So in calculation, the theoretical frequency we considered while designing C1, C2 and L, 100 kilohertz. Then whatever we got the signal in the CRO, calculate the time period. So we are getting 7.57 microsecond. So after this frequency calculation, we are getting 132.1 kilohertz. So this is our practical frequency. So, and this practical frequency is nearly equal to a theoretical frequency of oscillations. So already told that whatever the tank circuit we are using in the oscillator circuit depends on the C1, C2 and L value. So we will get the frequency. As we need to get the practical frequency very near to this Colpitts theoretical frequency, so again we need to change some C1, C2 and L value. So next, in the conclusion part, so oscillator will convert the direct current from the power supply to an alternating current, and this is used in many of the electronic devices. And in this case, in the Colpitts oscillator part, the feedback circuit is LC tank circuits. So in the LC tank circuit, I told that, again I will repeat that point. So depends on the value of C1, C2 and L. So we are getting the frequency of oscillations. So in this case, in the conclusion part of this experiment, actually we considered the theoretical frequency is F is equal to 100 kilohertz. But after calculation, after getting the output signal, the practical frequency we are getting 132 kilohertz, means 32 kilohertz difference we are getting, because that practical frequency totally depends on the selecting the value of inductance. As inductance value will choose, so depends on that L value, so we'll get the C1, C2 value. So totally we can say that whatever the practical frequency we are getting, that is depends on the L, C1 and C2 values. Now I will show the demo of Colpitts oscillator circuit. So according to the circuit diagram, so we connected it on the breadboard. So resistors and 3 electrolytic capacitors. So out of 3 electrolytic capacitor, 2 are the coupling capacitor and 1 is bypass capacitor at the emitter side. And including this capacitor, we are using the inductance box in the Colpitts oscillator. So this is the hardware connection of this Colpitts oscillator. And after this, we are applying the VCC voltage to activate this entire circuit. And when you switch on this circuit, when you switch on the supply voltage, so our output we are getting in this form, in exactly sine waveform. See the screen of the CRO, digital CRO. So here the time period is 7.57 microfarad. So when you take the reciprocal of this time period, so you are getting the frequency value is 132.1 kilohertz. So this is your practical value. 132.1 kilohertz is the practical frequency value. But in case of design, when you are designing coupling capacitor CC1, CC2 and emitter bypass capacitor, so at that time we are considering the lower cutoff frequency is 100 kilohertz, and that 100 kilohertz we have to consider as a theoretical value of Colpitts oscillator frequency value. Means the theoretical frequency value is 100 kilohertz and practical frequency value is 132.1 kilohertz. So this practical is nearly equal to 100 kilohertz, that is theoretical value. So this is the final sinusoidal signal of the Colpitts oscillator circuit. Hello friends, one small correction in the previous slide of design steps. Actually, in the case of calculation of emitter bypass capacitor, as a thumb rule, got into a thumb rule, x of c is equal to Re divided by 10, so we're getting 60. Then the c of E is equal to 1 upon 2 pi fl into x of c is equal to 1 upon 2 into 3.142 into 100 Hertz. I consider FL frequency, and x of c value is 60, so we're getting 26.52 microfarad. So for the standard value is 22 microfarad. So the correction is what in the previous slide of design step I used the formula C of E is equal to 10 divided by 2 pi FL x of C. Instead of 10, so please make it correction, it is 1, not 10. So after correction, you please consider CE is equal to 1 upon 2 pi FL x of CE. Okay, thank you. And in the Colpitts oscillator, the second part of the circuit is tank circuit, LC tank circuit, and that tank circuit is used as a feedback network. So whatever the C1, C2 and L, so these all values you have to set in the capacitance box and the inductance box. So according to the design, the C1 is 500 picofarad, C2 is also 500 picofarad, and the L we set 5 millihenry. Okay. So first two boxes are capacitance boxes, and this right side is inductance box. So in this case, by using this knob we can set the value of 500 picofarad, 500, and here also 500, 500 picofarad. And in inductance box we set 5 millihenry in this.